UFO documentary filmmaker James Fox has been threatened by a secret UFO group, and it has something to do with the new UFO whistleblower Jason Sands. Let's dive in and see what this is all about, y'all. If you're new to the channel and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. I put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. And please hit that like button, vetters. That really helps out the videos. So thank you all so much for the support there. And of course, comment down below. What do you think about this threat? Jason Sands, and let's dive in, y'all. Look, first thing we're going to do is take a look at a couple tweets from James Fox, and then after that, I'm actually going to show you a clip from the newest Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, where they also comment on Jason Sands. So let's just dive in and see what this is all about, y'all. All right, so first, let me start with this first tweet from James Fox. Now, after literally, I think it was within 30 minutes or something of a video I put out last week. It was my final deep dive of Jason Sands. I'll put links in the description for the videos that I made last week about Jason Sands. And after that video, James Fox tweeted out a support tweet, I guess you may say, but we're going to read it, but let's pay attention to the bottom half because this is going to add a lot of context to what I'm about to get into. And then the second tweet I'm going to show you that's the one that you're going to want to see. So first, let's start here. All right. James Fox here. Those who know me or are familiar with my work know I fiercely go the extra mile to weed out unsupported claims. I've spent the last year conducting numerous interviews, researching claims, and doing my best to verify, within my means, people's credentials and the veracity of their statements. As part of this mix, I met with Jason Sands a little over a year ago, concerning whom there has arisen fierce debates on social media concerning his claims of official involvement in the UAP area and specific experiences associated with such. As part of my due diligence, I can state that he is who he says he is, has served in the military, and is willing to testify under oath and even take a polygraph test regarding his claims. Nonetheless, as with other whistleblowers who go public, this doesn't mean that what he has stated should be questioned regarding apparent inconsistencies and difficult to resolve claims. Evaluation of such continues to be a work in progress. So, first of all, let's just kind of break that down a little bit. First of all, he's sort of first here. Let's do this. So Jason Sands is a whistleblower that came out, right, like a week and a half ago in a Twitter space and, told this fantastical story about an encounter with a blue alien in the Nevada desert outside of Area 51 in the late 90s. And what's key about him is he is going to be featured in the new James Fox UFO documentary called The Program that comes out this summer. So he kind of preemptively came out. And what we found out is basically he has been talking to people behind the scenes about his story, right? And so people were waiting for, after Jason Sands came out, people were waiting for people to come out and support him, right? Show support, right? The big names, Lou Elizondo's, the Jeremy Corbells, the James Foxes, the Danny Sheehans, right? What are they going to say about Jason Sands? Well, nobody said anything. And then James Fox tweets this out. And these are just a couple things here. One thing to remember is right here, if you look how he spells Jason Sands, right? He says Jason Sands. Now, this is a very important tweet. I doubt he misspelled that. So that's an interesting spelling of his name. At the time, people just thought it was a misspelling, right? But wait till you hear the Weaponized podcast clip that I'm going to play for you later. So pin this for now, right? Let's just pin this to the top. Remember, I interviewed Danny Sheehan, and he also spoke about Jason Sands and declining to represent him because he didn't think his story added up. They couldn't verify it, right? And clearly James Fox is saying the same thing, right? Like they can verify up to a certain point about Jason Sands, where he worked, whatever, but not the fantastical part, not the part that everyone wants to know can be verified, right? Which is the blue alien part, right? Working for the government, blah, blah. Okay, we can double check that. But what we can't do is verify your story. Because the other two people that were with Jason Sands, one was just charged with a mental illness. The other has disappeared, right? That's according to Jason Sands. But if you pay attention to the bottom of James Fox's, right, tweet here, he says, nonetheless, as with other whistleblowers who go public, this doesn't mean that what he has stated shouldn't be questioned, right? Which is what we're doing, right? And a lot of people are. You have to question them, right? Regarding apparent inconsistencies and difficult to resolve claims. So there are apparent inconsistencies, meaning very clear inconsistencies with his story, right? And difficult to resolve claims, right? So its evaluation of such continues to be a work in progress, right? So Jason Sands' verification process is still in progress. So it's okay to be questioning him. Don't feel bad about it. This is part of it, right? We can't just have whistleblowers come forward and they never get questioned, right? I get that, well, they're scared to come forward because they're going to get roasted. And, what are we talking about? We have to be able to question these things, right? And look, he uses the term whistleblower. James Fox does. But, when I spoke to Danny Sheehan, he claimed he's not a whistleblower. Right? Whistleblowers, people go against the law. Danny Sheehan even claimed David Grush is not a whistleblower, right? And he defined what a whistleblower is. And I have to say that I agree with Danny Sheehan, right? So just little things, right? Different people use different definitions, something I always talk about on this channel. You have to make sure and have people define what they mean by certain things. First-hand witness, whistleblower, right? We need these things defined individually by different people so we know exactly what they mean when they say these things, right? Because these are big claims, y'all, as you're about to see. So let's dive into the next part of this tweet here. This is the one you're waiting for. Now, this is in response, right? So James Fox left after he tweeted out that first tweet I just showed you. He went in the comments and started responding to people, right, in the comments. And this is one of the comments. As a citizen, I never imagined I would be limited to what I can share. And right now, I want full transparency, but I risk being thrown out of the circle if I say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Quite frustrating. Please give me time. So you've got this secret, UFO group circle of people who, right, basically threatening James Fox. If he says the wrong thing at the wrong time, he's out. He's out of there. Which is interesting, right? Someone at James Fox's level can be threatened like that, right? Now, maybe it's a valid threat in the sense that, hey, this is sensitive, classified information, but James Fox, like anybody in public, is not allowed to have information like that. Top secret, classified, shouldn't know any of that, right? But, so with that said, I don't think it's anything top secret or classified that James is holding on to, but this is what happens behind the scenes in the UFO community. You've got these tight-knit secret UFO groups, right, made up of former intelligence, possibly current intelligence members, former, government officials, whatever, right? Who are all deciding how things should go, how it should play out for the public, right? Unsanctioned, unregulated groups, right? They're not connected with the government. They're not a public group that people can get involved with. It's just these secret groups behind the scenes that decide a lot of this. And basically, they're telling James Fox, dude, you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, you're out. Imagine that. James Fox, right? 30-year plus veteran in the UFO community, one of the most decorated UFO documentary filmmakers, if not the most, right? A key figure in this topic. And that's a little alarming to me, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I think, like a lot of you are going to say in the comments, you might understand it, right? So curious to read the comments on this one, how people see that. But what I do appreciate from James Fox is he's transparent about this. Does that make sense? He was able to tweet this out, basically, right? Like he wants full transparency, but he also needs that access, right? So that he can get interviews and this and that, I'm assuming, right? But at least he's able to tweet this out, right? Which is interesting. I wonder if he got backlash for tweeting this out, right? Like, I don't know. And who is in this circle? Who are the people, right? Who are these people in the circle that are watching James so closely that if he says the wrong thing at the wrong time, he's out? And what does that mean, thrown out? In what way, right? Just like removed from the group chat or more, right? Cut off, shunned, who knows, right? So I found that interesting, disturbing, and don't really know what to make of it. So I'm definitely going to be curious to hear y'all's comments about this, if I'm being honest. Look, let's jump to this weaponized clip. Now, don't forget, remember earlier in the first tweet, right? Let's show that again. Right here, where Jason Sands, right? Jason Sands. Now, these are small details, right? But when it comes to the UFO community, sometimes these small details are how you find out a lot more, right? Just like a seed that can grow into a huge tree, right? It's sort of the same scenario. You're looking for this little thing that could be bigger, right? So, anyway, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp put out a new episode of Weaponized, and they talked about Jason Sands in this, right? Apparently, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp were approached by Jason Sands well over a year ago and were told the story, right? And knew about him. But listen to what they say. Let's play it.
I think we should also talk about, a lot of people have been asking you or me, what about this Jay Sands guy? Have you heard about this Jay Sands guy? I saw some headlines like whistleblower comes out on a Twitter Spaces or something like that. And, a lot of people are just asking, what do you think about this guy? And so I think it's important that we at least touch upon this. Like, look, man, I did know about Jay Sands. I've talked to him many times back in the day. It's not something I can personally report on because there's, what is the difference between verifiable information and not verifiable information? To my satisfaction, and I think to yours as well, that it is verified that Jay Sands worked in the positions that he says that he worked in, that he was part of the intelligence community. I'm not sure what has been said publicly, but, absolutely, he worked in the intelligence community and currently does. So the guy has security clearances and has worked in the capacities he said. Specifically, he worked as a Red Hat, which is like a counterintelligence at Area 51. He was intercepting communications. So this is a guy that would have heard the internal chatter from some of the most secretive programs that our country has. And that is validated that was his job. I can validate that for you. That is correct information. I can also validate that he's testified to Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, to the Senate Armed Services Committee, and the House Armed Services Committee. So he did come forward with information. And I've talked to some people in those capacities, and they're like, yeah, with what we could verify, he did have some knowledge of the legacy UFO programs. And I thought that was interesting because some of his other claims, they're very hard to digest for the average person. He made some really astounding personal claims of encounters, none of which I could ever validate or verify. So for me, there's nothing I can do with them. He could come forward with that story, but just like any other credible person can come forward with a story, a firsthand direct contact with a ET or non-human intelligence, there's just nothing much I can personally do with it. It wasn't a story that I felt I could run with. So it's a complex situation. I'm not sure what to make of it. How about you, George?
Well, you had told me about him, that you'd been having these conversations with him and you wanted to bring me in. That was more than a year ago. Maybe it's a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And we finally had a real long, detailed talk with him where he laid out his story for me as well as to you. And so I was able to ask him some questions. And so much of the key incidents that he talked about were here in Nevada.
Yeah.
So I know a lot about that base where he worked. And, there were questions I could ask that gave me a sense of, did he really work there? And the answer is yeah. I know that Jay has been, Jason is how I think everyone else uses the name, but Jay to us, that he has been dismayed in that he's really been ripped apart on UFO, Twitter, and X and social media, which happens to anybody who comes forward. That's part of the whole shebang. He's upset, I think, what I was told, because people like you and I have not come forward to defend him. Well, the agreement we had with him was that we're not going to talk about it. He shared his story with us with the understanding that we weren't going to go forward. We were not going to do an issue of Weaponized on his story, that he had already made agreements to keep buttoned down for a while. People don't know that there's tremendous competition for UFO whistleblowers and witnesses in the journalism world. The people who are considered credible, who investigate this stuff, when they hear about a witness, they want to wrap them up. I want him to be my witness for my film or my book. And there's a lot of competition there. So by the time you and I were getting into the nitty gritty with him, he'd already made some agreements about where his story was going to break. That's fine. It's fine with us. We weren't going to spill it. I think that I'm not surprised that Jay's story is now out. I am surprised that it took this long to come out, because I think you have the same feeling. He wanted to tell the world about what he had seen and what he had done. He was anxious to do it back then, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I tell people when they come to me is, look, I trust but need to verify. And I'm not making movies on this stuff. I'm not going to put you in something. So I always kill that right away. Like, if you're looking for somebody to back you up, I'm not the guy, right? So I just but if you want to tell me what you said or what happened, I'll listen to it. But again, George, so much of it for me, I'm not passing judgment on it. I couldn't verify it. So I couldn't verify the specifics of the encounter that he says he had at Area 51. So how am I to know better than anybody else if that is an actual event or not? So I can't get up and defend somebody when I can't verify anything. What I can say is I've talked to people within government that he's testified to, not about his personal experience, but about his knowledge of legacy UFO program. And that stuff, everything that could be verified, was checked out. So he had some type of exposure to the legacy UFO stuff, even if it's just overhearing it on the radio by name, doing his counter intel. He had some accurate information. So again, look, this subject is never easy. It's complicated. And I'm not standing here saying everything somebody says, I'm behind what they said, big thumbs up. I can't do that. I can tell you what I verified, what I haven't verified. And that's all that I verified, is that he had some knowledge. Not even, to be honest, not even a lot. Like, there are people with direct firsthand hands-on experience who won't go to Kirkpatrick and to Arrow. And those individuals, if they ever come forward, I mean, that is verifiable, awesome information about UFO programs. But look, it takes kind of it's like a prism. If you can get verified information from a huge panel of people on what's going on, it's gonna paint a much clearer picture. So yeah, man, that's all I got to say about it. There's nothing more I can say because I can't verify anything. So look, this brings me back to those text messages.
So I don't know. What do y'all think? That's quite interesting. Let's break down a few things that Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp said. One, I agree with Jeremy Corbell, right? And a lot of what he says, to be honest with you, and George Knapp, right? Like, look, they can only verify to a certain extent, right? But to come out and then, publicly endorse somebody, that's another step, right? That means that you are standing behind them. But since they can't verify his whole story, they can't really endorse him, right? And so, well, I respect that from them, right? So but they are just telling the truth, right? Like, hey, this part we could, right? But again, the fantastical parts of his story we cannot verify. Therefore, we cannot endorse what Jason Sands is saying or him as a person, right? But what we can say is we do believe that he worked at, these places, right? Area 51 as a red hat, as Jeremy Corbell is saying, counterintelligence. Remember, Jason Sands is still currently employed by the intelligence community. And he's coming out with this story. He has a high security clearance. Does this make any sense to y'all? Because it doesn't to me. right? His story is getting approved through DOPSR, right? Pre-publication safety review or whatever it is, right? So it's interesting, right? And then he went to all these people, right? He met with Jesse Michaels, right? And as revealed on the Big Thing with Christian Harloff, and Jesse decided not to do a video about him, right? He went to Danny Sheehan, as revealed in my interview with Danny Sheehan, right? And Danny said we couldn't verify him, so therefore we did not represent him, because that's what he went to Danny Sheehan for, to get legal representation as a whistleblower. But Danny and his team decided not to represent him, right? You even have James Fox, who is putting him in his documentary, saying that there are apparent inconsistencies, right, with his story, right? And now you've got Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp saying, yeah, we spoke to him, but we can't verify, right, what he's saying to be true, all of it, right? The most important parts, right? And again, it's just so interesting. Jason Sands is a counterintelligence, working in counterintelligence, still currently employed by the intelligence community, and is allowed to come out and tell top secret, information, classified information. I mean, it just, again, y'all, it doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand this. So, and you've got James Fox tweeting out, right? Hey man, I can't say the wrong thing at the wrong time, I'm out. Right? So was his statement about Jason Sands his own statement from James Fox? I do believe it was. And look, I like James Fox a lot. I love his documentaries. I wouldn't have this channel without James Fox. If you know my story behind of how I started Vetted, James Fox is basically the reason, right? His film Moment of Contact, after I interviewed him for my other podcast. I'm a huge fan of James Fox, and I can't wait for this movie, the program, to come out, right? So I respect what James Fox is doing, and I understand it's a tightrope act of what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to bring information to the public, but also maintain access and, sources and everything he's doing on the other end, right? It's like he's balancing back and forth between the two, what he's allowed to say publicly and not, and present and this, that, and right. And he's having to coordinate with all these different people. And look, Jason Sands is a small part of his new documentary coming out. And, maybe because of him coming out, it might even be changed. We don't know. We don't know. The first draft of his film had already been done, but is James Fox going to re-edit his film now that Jason Sands has come out? Because remember, Jason Sands coming out, that was not planned. Nobody knew he was doing that. But according to George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, this guy really wanted to tell his story and to come out, right? And Jason Sands even said in his Twitter space that his company, he said his company that he works for, so he's still in intelligence, but working for a private company, they said they're cool with him coming out. He just doesn't want to name the company he works for. Again, this stuff just doesn't add up. It's like, yeah, dude, go tell your blue alien story. That's cool. Just don't mention us. I mean, what are we talking about here? What is the point of Jason Sands coming out? What is it meant to do? Is Jason Sands a plant meant to create confusion, distrust? Right? That was the government and the UFO legacy programs, were they scared about what was happening, right? And thought, oh, we do have real whistleblowers and real people coming out. We need to do something about it, right? So let's interject someone who will throw confusion into this mix. So now you're not sure who's the real whistleblower and who's not, right? It's quite confusing, right? I got to be honest. So with that said, the Jason Sands UFO whistleblower story is still ongoing. All right. So, and again, George Knapp saying Jay, as we call him, Jason Sands, right? Let's be real. We don't know what his real name is. I'm not even sure it's Jason Sands or Jay or whatever. This is what the intelligence community does. I think what someone needs to do in that James Fox tweet is ask James Fox, did you mean to misspell his name? Is his name spelled that way? Right? Because I'm sure someone like John Greenwald can start requesting documents through FOIA about Jason Sands, but you're going to need to know how to spell his name. And Jason Sands has revealed a discharge paper from his time in the Air Force, and his name is spelled just like you regularly spell Jason, Jason. But again, what is going on, y'all? I don't know. And I hope James Fox is okay. I hope he's not being threatened like he says he is. But look, the story is ongoing, so we'll keep you updated with what's going on. All right. So, guys, look forward to tomorrow's video. Should be great. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. All right.